Okay, here we go. All right, guys, 8:20. We're getting ready to start our class this morning. Today we're going to be talking about a story called The Gift of the Magi, and we're going to be analyzing the structure of the story. What structure? Tell me.
How it's built, the frame of the story.
Right, how it's built. So we got an example of what usually is in the structure. You've got the beginning, right? You've got the beginning of the story. You've got the main characters in the story, and you've got the setting. Where does it take place? Okay. What kind of problem might be in the story? Then the key moments, as well as what we call the resolution. It's almost like talk to them.
The problem solver is like when they solve everything and it's down, and it's going down, everything's going
Right.
boom.
So how the plot setting how does it set up?
Usually it starts off by introducing the characters, and then there will be some conflict that happens, and on the way going to the conflict, like trying to solve the conflict, then climax.
Okay. So basically you have what? Introduction, rising action, climax,
falling action,
resolution. Good, very good. Okay. So let's look at this. Okay, if you look at your story, at your Chromebooks, you'll see where it has a warm-up writing. Take this a couple minutes to work on this. It's called a warm-up writing. It says, look at the picture and answer the question. In the Bible, the Magi were three wise men who brought gifts to the newborn Jesus. They're credited with the idea of gift giving on Christmas. Okay, that's some similar to where we get this idea from about giving gifts. Okay, so today you're going to read the story about the woman named Della and her husband named Jim, and it takes place on Christmas Eve in the early 1900s. Okay, so the question is this, and take a couple of minutes to answer this question. What makes a good gift? What makes a good gift, and why? Now, before you start answering this, have you ever got a gift that you didn't think was a good gift, but you didn't give it, you didn't want to give it back, you didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings? That happened before?
Yes, sir.
So what's a good gift? Tell me what's a good gift and why. Write it down, and I'm gonna let you read. I'm gonna let you read out what you got. Some of you if you want to. What makes a good gift and why? Take a minute or so and do that. What makes a good gift? What makes a good gift? And then tell me why you think it makes a good gift. What makes a good gift? Anybody's finished, you would like to share? Okay, Brady.
Thought and the process that goes through.
You said what now? The thought?
Thought and the process.
Right. So you notice he didn't even mention the material part of it. He says the thought. The thought is what counts, right? Okay, Caleb?
I said everything's a good gift because it matters where it comes from. If it comes from the heart, it's a good gift. It don't matter what it is, depending on what it is. As long as you know it came from a person's heart and they try their best.
Good. So you guys are definitely on the right track. And so we're going to see some of this same thing in this story. It's going to go from the thought of the material stuff to actually what was done and why. Okay? So let's take a look at this story. Let's jump into it. Need some good readers this morning. I want you to amplify those mics as you read so we can hear, so everybody can hear, okay? The Gift of the Magi, and who wrote this?
Oh, Henry.
Oh, Henry. All right, I'm gonna let you start, Caleb, and then Corey, okay?
Where you want me to start at?
Read 1, 2, and 3.
$1.87. That was all. And 60 cents it was finished. Didn't say 1, 2 at a time, but bulldozing the grocer and the vegetarian and the butcher until one cheek's burned with the solid amputation of paramount. As such closing dealer implied. 3 times dealer counted $1.87, and the next day will be Christmas. There was clearly little to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did it. Watching instigates the moral reflection that life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating.
Predominating.
With the mistress of the home is gradually sobbing from the first stage to the second. Take a look at the home and furnishing flat at $8 per week. It did not exactly beggar this description, but it certainly had the word on the lookout for the mercenary squad.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. Remember, if you come to a word and it has a number after it, what is the message?
It's a word that's gonna give you the definition
At the bottom of the story. So at the bottom of the story, we can find what parsimony means. Somebody tell me what it means.
Extreme unwillingness to spend money, cheapness to provoke or bring about.
Okay, basically cheap. You know anybody that's cheap?
Yes.
Frugal, don't want to spend much. Don't get too much into the high spending. Okay, so then let's look at the question that goes with paragraph 1. It says, what is the purpose of paragraph 1? What do you think the purpose is? Is it to compare 2 problems in the story? Or is it to critique the main character of the story? Or is it C, to illustrate the character's problem in the story? Or possibly D, to describe how the characters interact with the setting?
I said
C
C.
is very correct. C, to illustrate how the character's problem in the story. Illustrate the character's problem in the story, okay? So we're finding out the problem. What's the problem? Somebody tell me.
The problem is she don't have enough money to buy her husband a gift.
She wants to buy a gift, and she wants to buy him a nice gift, but she don't have $1 and how much?
87 cents.
$1.87. Wow. Okay, number 4. Who's next? I think Corey.
In the vestibule below was a letterbox into which no letter would go, and an electric button from which no mortal finger could coax a ring. Also appearing thereunto was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. The Dillingham had been flung to the breeze during a former period of prosperity, when its professor was paid $30 per week. Now when the income was shrunk to 20, though they were thinking seriously of contracting to a modest and assuming D. But whenever Mr. James Dingleham Young came home and reached his flat above, he was called Jim and greatly loved by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced to you as Della, which is all very good.
Okay, so what basically has happened? What has happened to the Dillingham family?
Mr. Dillingham has a job as a professor.
Right.
Has decreased his living wage.
Okay, so his wages has decreased from $30 to what?
$20.
To $20. And now, because of the social status that they possibly had, they want to stop calling themselves Dillingham and use what? D, right? Y'all see that? In paragraph 5, says they were thinking seriously of contracting to a modest and assuming what? D. So, basically, they were trying to lower their status, and because of the way things were. Because people looked at you, apparently the Dillingham name was a high name in the community. So they reduced their name by saying that they would be called D, okay? Now, as we look at the structure of this, we're also applying something. We're applying, RL 8.5 because we're using some compare and contrasting the structure, two or more texts. Also, we're analyzing how the differing structure of each text contribute to its meaning and style. When we look at the meaning and the style of this story, we find that the structure has been basically put together by this author. What's his name again? O. Henry. And O. Henry wants us to understand that this is a story that has a lot of meaning to it. He's bringing some significance to it. He's letting us know that this is important. It's not just a simple story. It's a story where we'll find great meaning in it. Okay? Number 6. Who is next? AJ.
Della finished her cry and attended to her sheets with the powder rag. She stood by the window and looked out dully at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow will be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87, with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months. With this result, $20 a week doesn't go far. Expenses have been greater than she had calculated. They always are only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim, her Jim. Many a happy hour she has spent planning for something nice for him. Something fine and rare and sterling, something just a little bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim.
Okay, so as Christmas approaches, she's becoming a little bit more anxious, right? About the gift that she wants to buy him. She saved and she still hasn't come up with enough money. Okay? All right, next. Who's reading next?
There was a clear glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you have seen a clear glass in an $8 flask. A very dim, a very agile person may, by observing his reflection and a rapid sequence of longitudinal strips, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Della, being slender, have mastered the art.
Okay, now before we get too far, let's go back. Paragraph 6 asks the question. How does this paragraph 6 add to the problem in the story? Paragraph 6 add to the problem of the story by what?
By making the tone of the text seem like it's sad, making me feel like she's needed by her husband something.
Right. So it's basically demonstrating exactly what Caleb says. Very good, Caleb. Demonstrating that Della does not have enough money to get her husband a gift, and she's very concerned about it. Right? Okay. Let's go on. Let's move on. Number 8. Continue, please.
Soon she whirled from the window and stood before the glass. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had lost its color within 20 seconds. Rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now there were 2 possessions of the James Dingleham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out of the window someday to dry, just to deprecate her majesty. Jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been the janitor with all his treasures piled up in the basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed, just to see him pluck at his beard from envy.
Okay, good. So there's a word that we need to identify. The word is depreciate. What does that mean? If you depreciate something.
It means that you add something that you give less value to.
Okay?
To lower the value of something or to cause something seem less valuable.
Right. So just to bring this to a broader perspective, if you have go on a lot and mom and dad buy a car, they bring that car off the lot and they drive that car The car is worth so much money, right? But when they take that car home and drive it for a few months, up to a year maybe, the car value depreciates. Why is that?
Because it's not new anymore, it has stuff on like dirty, has a lot of miles on it, and it basically just,
Right.
it's getting wear on it.
So the use of it, wear and tear, causes it to depreciate. So what did she do to depreciate the value of her hair? Said if she would have, look at this. It says, the other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in a flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hung out the window, some to dry, to depreciate.
I feel like that means to dry out.
So she wanted to make it seem less value, right? Okay. Now let me read some. Let me model for you. Verse number 10. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knees and made itself almost a garment of her. And she did it again, and nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still while a tear or two splashed on the worn red carpet. On went her brown jacket, on went her brown hat. She's putting these things on, right? With a whirl skirt and a brilliant sparkle still in her eye. She fluttered out the door and down the stairs to the street, where she stopped and read a sign. This MME means Mademoiselle, okay? Mademoiselle Sofronie, hair goods of all kinds. And this is a hair place, right? One flight up Della ran and collected herself, panting, Madame, large, too high, chilly, hardly looked at Sofronie. Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. She's now so desperate she's willing to do what? Sell her hair in order to get this gift. He says, I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off and let's have a sight at it, a look at it. Down Rupert brown cascades. $20, said Mademoiselle. Lift up the mask with her practiced hand. Give it to me quickly, said Della. Oh, and the next 2 hours tripled by on rosy wings. Forgot hashed metaphor. She was ransacking the story for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim. What was it, y'all? Tell me what it was. What was the gift?
It's a type of, it's like a ribbon, but
It's like a band, right?
a big
Right. Okay. It was platinum, fob, chain, simple, and chased in design. Properly proclaiming its value by substance alone and not by meticulous ornamentation, as all goods should do. It was even worthy of the watch. She found something that would go with Jim's watch, correct? Okay. Now look, let's skip down to number 20. When Della reached home, her intoxication gave way a little to prudence and reason. She got out of her curling irons, and she lighted the gas and went to work in repairing the ravages made by the generosity added to love. What was this? Her willingness to give her hair, right? Her willingness to give her hair, but then she still wanted to do something about this hair that she had cut off, okay? Look at 21. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny, close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror carefully and critically. If Jim doesn't kill me, that's what she says. She's thinking to herself, he's going to be really upset. She said to herself, before he takes a second look at me, he'll say, I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. But what could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87? So she's trying to justify cutting her hair. She didn't have enough money, okay? At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made, and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Then she heard his step on the stairs, away down the first flight, and she turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest things every day. And now she whispered, please God, make him think I'm still pretty, okay? The door opened and Jim stepped in and out of the closet and closed it, and he looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, he was only 22, and to be burdened with the family, he needed a new overcoat, and he was without gloves. Jim stopped out inside the door, as immovable as a setter at the scent of a quail. His eyes were fixed where? Where did his eyes immediately go? Upon Della, upon the fact that Della had cut her hair. And then, and there was an expression in them that she could not read. She couldn't tell what he was thinking, and it terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise. It was not disapproval, nor was it horror. Not even the sentiment that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly with a peculiar expression on his face. What could that have been? What could it have you ever had someone that stare you down and you didn't really know what they were thinking?
Yes, sir.
Like I'm doing that. Can't tell what I'm thinking, Caleb. All right. Jim, darling, she cried. Don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I couldn't live through Christmas without giving you a present. I'll grow it again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you. Okay, all right. So she's trying to justify to him the fact that she cut her hair, and she's telling him, hey, it's gonna grow back. It's gonna grow back. My hair grows fast. So it'll grow back and you won't ever notice that it has been gone. So let's pick up at 29, and I'm gonna get some of you guys to read for me. Who's reading next? I want some of you young ladies to read for me.
Cut off your hair as Jim Robinson, as if he had not arrived at the fact yet, even the hardest mental labor. Cut it off, don't you like just as well anyhow? I mean without my hair, Anna. Jim looked about the room curiously. You say your hair is gone, he said with an air almost of curiosity. You needn't look for it, said Della. It's sold, I tell you, sold and wanted. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me. For I went for you. Maybe the hands of my hair will remember. She went on with sudden killing sweetness, but nobody could ever tell my love for you. So I put the chalk on him.
Okay, 34, someone?
Out of his trance, Jim seemed quickly to wait. He unfolded his Della for 10 seconds. Let us regard with distant
Discreet scrutiny.
some income qualities object in the other direction. $8 a week or $1 million a year. What is the difference? A mathematician or a white would give you the wrong answer. The Magi brought valuable gifts, but that wasn't not among them. These darks and and
A surgeon.
a surgeon will be eliminated later on. Jim drew a package from his overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table.
Okay. Go on.
Don't make any mistake, Dale. He said, about me, I don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or a shampoo that could make me like in my girl any less. But you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while at first. White fingers and nimble tore at the string and paper, and then an elastic scream of joy, and then Alice, a quick feminine change to hysterical tears and wails, necessitating the immediate employment of all the comforting powers of the Lord of the Flat.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
But she hugged to her husband, and then at the week she was able to
Maybe 38. Number 38.
for they laid the combs, they set up the combs side and back. The devil now worship long and Broadway windows. Beautiful combs for tortoise shell with a jewelry ring. Just a shade to wear in these beautiful bandage hair. They were expensive combs. She knew in her heart and simply craved the hair over them without the least hope of possession.
Okay. All right. Let's recap. So she has bought him what? What did she purchase for him?
Oh,
Basically a watch band. We can call it that, right? So now she tears into the gift, and what does she find that he's bought her? Some combs. They go with her hair. Okay, now she's kind of ecstatic. She knows she loves them. They nice, but her hair is short at this point. But she's already told him the hair is gonna grow back. So we're looking at this. Let's analyze for a second. What is the importance? Is it so important that she got the watch band? Is it so important that he got the combs? What's the most important value of what has taken place here? Both gifts came from the heart. Both gifts were something that they thought would be special for the husband and the wife, correct? So we're looking at this and we're thinking about it, and we're thinking now, if every time I get ready to buy a gift, I want to do it from my heart, right? I want to do it from my heart, and that's what's going to count. It's not necessarily what the gift is, it's where it comes from. It's the value. That's the value in it. That's what's important. That's the most important part of it. Okay? So when we look at this story, we find this too. Now, to sum it up, what happened to the watch?
He stole it.
He did the same thing. He did this very same exact thing that she did. He sold the watch to get her the combs. She sold the hair to get him the watch band. So now you have a couple who's sitting in it's Christmas time. What are they going to do now? What are they going to do? Somebody talk to me. What's this to happen now? They just enjoy one another and the fact that it's Christmas. They're going to enjoy one another and Christmas and have a good time together and just be glad that they are together. Because ultimately, they are one another's greatest gifts at this point. Okay? So when we think about that, let's look at something. Here's something that the author did. The author kind of directs the reader's attention to exact details. We saw some exact details in this story, but also we saw opinions. We developed our opinions about what they did. What's your opinion? Talk to me. What's your opinion about what they did?
I feel like I feel like they felt
I felt they were angry at first because like if you sold your prized possession and get your significant other a gift and see that the gift that you give them is useless at that point, I feel like you can kind of angry and you feel dumb basically. And I feel like
So that's Caleb's opinion. What is y'all's opinion? What do y'all think? What do you think, Caleb, man? What do you think, Bernardia? You think it was, what's your opinion about what each one did? Okay. So their opinions and emotion, the author wants to stress by manipulating the point of view of the story. The author tells the story in writing and illustrates, and the illustrators provide pictures of different scenes in the story. So we can see the different scenes. We can see how the author, how he built it up through the different various settings. First they start out, there's a change in income. Then there's still a strong desire to get something for each other, get each one a gift. So you see these pictures, how it all comes together. Then we find that they both got rid of what they had, and then actually they were kind of prized possessions, and did this because they wanted to do something for their significant other, okay? And then in the end of the story, we've read this story before, we know that they both enjoyed one another's presence during Christmas, had a good time, got the chops put on, had a good meal, and enjoyed Christmas together, okay? Very good job today, guys. Give yourself a hand.